If you've been feeling uneasy recently, like something's off, you're in some sort of void, stick around. We're going to get some angelic guidance here and go in deeper. Now, this is a general reading. So, for each of you, think about right now, just take a moment. Think about what is the most pressing thing you want an answer to. It could be career, love, spiritual growth. It could be health, whatever you want. It could be something about the world. Okay, just hold that in your mind as we tell this story. Now, I do want to let you know that Archangel Gabriel is coming forward. And in a big way. Gabriel is about comfort, nurturance, communication, conception, okay? Giving birth to new situations, or maybe literally giving birth. If you are someone who is pregnant right now, call upon Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Raphael. They will help you and watch over the baby as well. All right, so I did use the Archangel Michael deck because we love these invocations that are on here. Let's dive in. The first card in this message story is Shield Yourself. Now, as soon as this popped out, I knew that there were outside influences. There are clashing ideas. Okay, so there is the societal norm, right? The games people play, the games that people are encouraged to play. And then there is where you exist, right? And for you, it might feel like you're outside of this world. You don't fit in. Everything you try to do gets derailed, especially if it is a question of career or love. You know, you might feel like, why does everybody else have a partner, but I don't? Because you don't play the game. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of people who are with someone, they're not in love with them. Because unfortunately, a lot of people were raised to not understand what real love is. If you're not getting ahead in your career, it's because you don't play the game. And again, that's nothing to feel ashamed of. All right, we're going to go deeper here, but let me read what is on the card here. Archangel Michael, I ask you to protect me, my loved ones, my vehicle, and my home with your powerful shield. Surround us in your purple light, which allows only pure love to penetrate. Please stay with me day and night and keep my loved ones safe, and you can name all of your loved ones. Now, please understand, we always want to be careful with the type of content we're taking in, because even just by watching this video, you are opening yourself up to angels and archangels of God's purest love and light. So we're not doing anything else, okay? Only the good stuff coming through. And when we say these words out loud, if you take a moment and allow yourself to take that in and to emanate that out to Archangel Michael and Gabriel, and we talked about Raphael. So Raphael comes in. He's the archangel of healing and good health and travel and soulmates and the heart space and lots of other things. When we put those words out there, they respond, and they respond to the frequency. All right. So just by being here, you are engaging with angelic presence. Let's get to this next card, because here's the game, right? Here's the energy overlay. What I talk about all the time on this channel, which is the societal norms, this manipulation that's been set as the standard. And if you don't play into that, then you're an outsider, right? Or you get doubted on what you know to be true. Yes? This says your inner guidance is real and trustworthy. Please help me clearly hear, see, feel, and know the divine guidance that I've asked for and prayed for. Allow me to keep my ego out of the way so your wisdom can come streaming through me for my own benefit and for those around me. Now, one of the things that's always interesting about this card, let me put it here. I don't know if you can see that there, but she's holding a red book. Now, this could be very significant for some of you. As I said, this is a general reading. So as you're listening to this, you want to focus on the question you want an answer to. And as the messages go, there will be personal things that jump out at you. Perhaps you're sitting right next to a red book. If that is the case, open it up, put your finger on a word, see what that message is there. It's not for everybody, though. You know, maybe for you, you are, being taken by the image of this woman. Maybe this woman looks like you a little bit. All right. That's how you listen to these general readings. Of course, you can get personal readings. I do offer those. All that information is in the description box if you want to check that out. But this is saying don't let the noise of day to day, the manipulation frequency that sets us all off, to drown out the messages that are the true messages that are trying to come through for you. Here's the deal. Here's an example. You may have somebody who is, let's say there's a group of people. Okay. There's a whole thing going on. And one person's trying to convince everybody else that they are the best one, the one everyone should follow. Everyone else is terrible. And they have someone in the group that they victimize themselves with. So they point to somebody and say, that person is always doing X, Y, and Z to me. Okay. People are so easily conditioned in this frequency field that they'll just believe that this person is great and that this person's awful, or that this person is great and they are truly the victim of this group of people. What this is saying is, got to raise the frequency. Got to raise it up. That's another good reason to watch angel videos. Just by sitting here and being... Now, you always want to be discerning. You always want to protect yourself. Be careful who you're listening to. But if your heart is open, your mind is open, you're going to lift up. You're going to lift up. And it doesn't always mean that we don't talk about the hard stuff here. You know that I'm known for that. If you've watched me for any amount of time. And if you're new here, hi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. But we talk about real stuff. But we can talk about that, process it, come on through to the other side, and lift up. When you lift up, the perspective changes. Yes? Let's keep going with this card story that has come out. This situation is already resolved. Breathe that in. Take a moment. Now, if you're driving, be careful. Ignore me, okay? Just watch it later, all right? This situation is already resolved. Allow that to come into your heart space with light, love, the highest frequency, God source frequency, divine frequency, whatever you want to call it, okay? Take a moment and let it lift you up. Let all the other stuff fall away. I give any worries, cares, and concerns to you in exchange for true peace in all ways. Thank you for resolving this situation in a divinely perfect way, and you can name your situation. So again, take in this imagery. That's why I still use cards, is for the imagery and the words. Yes. The situation's already resolved because there never really was a situation. You're already on your life's path. Whatever needs to come about is in the process of coming about. What does that mean? Well, if there is someone who is in your world, a friend, a love partner, coworker, neighbor, whatever the case may be, and they're no longer meant to be there, they will not be there. Okay. Now, a lot of people have a hard time letting go. Same kind of thing with a job, or if you're meant to have a lifestyle change, yes, you'll get the warning signs through your health, but you're not going to miss out on what you were meant to come here and do. There are exceptions to that. Yes, something really big would have to come in for you to be off your path. More often than not, people have an idea of what their path should look like. And if life isn't playing out exactly like that, they think it's all ruined. It's not. Okay. And what's more is that because of that energy overlay, that societal energy overlay on the third dimensional ego consciousness, the frequency field that we're in, we think things are way worse than they are because they don't look the way we want them to. The situation is already resolved. It's coming together. Yes? Got to remember, too, other people within the situation need to sort of close out their tab with you, okay? So that could take an extra moment, okay? Now, I could sit here and talk about examples all day long, but you may end up in a career that you never thought you would be in. But if you're open-minded, you get there and you realize it's about the people. I've done that plenty of times where I've taken a job and it's not the kind of job that I ever imagined myself doing, but I got in there and I just on a soul level knew I'm here for the people. I'm here because we are supposed to work out some karma. We are here to work out lessons with one another. So don't cheat yourself on a soul level because the ego consciousness is coming in and saying, yeah, but I want to be known as XYZ. I want to be famous. That's how I define success. Don't do that. Okay. So to shield yourself from this manipulation, I'm going to use that word, trusting your inner guidance. And then the third card so far is the situation's already resolved. It's not what you think it is. Okay. Then we have eternal love. Help me perceive all of the love that surrounds me so that I can feel safe, receiving, expressing, and giving love. So much of this thought grid manipulation. I'm going to overuse that word. I'm so sorry. But that manipulation is to keep you from experiencing this real love. Now, we can take this eternal love and make it a karmic thing. For some of you, yes, that's what it is. You are cycling around. I have seen so many people who just left a bad situation and they walked right into another bad, romantically speaking, bad romantic situation with someone who's just as bad as their last partner, if not worse. And then they can't figure out why things are falling apart in their life. Why is everything coming about the way that it is? So there could be that aspect for some of you who are watching this. For others, maybe you're chronically single because you remember a deeper love, or it could be some other stuff. Right? You're learning how to be independent, or you could still be hurting from some abuses, God forbid, or some patterns that you still have not overcome. But the eternal love card, in the context of this story, this message, we have disconnected from what real love is. We have allowed ourselves to be dragged down into it be merely physical attraction or transactional. What can I get from this person? Popularity. I'm not going to lie. There was a time that I was only attracted to men who were really, really successful. Like, I know. And it wasn't about money. It wasn't about that. Or people who are really, really talented. Like, they're just the best at whatever. You could be the best plumber. You could be the best dancer. You could be the best musician, businessman, whatever the case may be. As long as you were the best at what you do, loved it. I still love that. But I realize that that's something else that's going on there. Maybe that's a belief that I can't truly be successful, so I want to be inspired by someone who is. Or I want to feel that protection from somebody, because usually in this world, if you're successful, you have some pull. You have some sort of, you have your connections with people. And that can, kind of put me under their umbrella and protect me from the storm, right? So that eternal love card with this whole shield yourself, it's asking you to wake up. Even if you're listening to this and you go, I'm not looking for romantic love. I don't care about that. Why does every card reading go to romantic love? I don't know. Okay, dude. I'm just pulling cards over here. I don't tell you. Channeling angels, bringing that angelic influence through. We're doing our best. But remember, it's not just romantic love. Part of this is understanding, as I keep saying, that divine love. And one of the best ways to access that divine love is by connecting with the angels that are around you. Now, unless you have actively commanded angels to go away from you, you have angels. You have angels. Typically, I don't know if this is the rule, but typically you're born in with two. One that's sort of silent, and I call that one mission control. Right? They're making sure that you stay on path with your life's path. And the other one is the messenger angel that's there to help you, guide you, coach you, that sort of thing. Then throughout your life, on various chapters on your soul's contract, whatever you're about to learn, you get extra helpers that come in. They have already agreed to this. You have already agreed to this. But in the moment, let's say you are supposed to learn the hard lesson of a marriage dissolving. Okay, you're supposed to be learning how this happened, what to do to get through it, how you're going to conduct your life afterwards, the energy restoration that you need to do from something like that. So let's say you get into it, and before you even got into this human body, you had agreed that 5 angels, guardian angels, beautiful guardian angels of light, are going to come in and help you through this. But then the soul you had connected with here in the physical, they're trying it. They're trying to destroy you. Well, you can call out for extra angels to help you with that, because maybe that wasn't in the plan, but someone's trying to make it part of the plan. You feel me? So you can always do that. Or God forbid, if you're going through grief, and if you are watching this and you are going through grief, I am so sorry. But I understand what that is on your soul's path. And you did agree to come in and be with that person or that pet or, whoever is in your life or whatever situation was in your life that now is exiting. There was at least some agreement. Well, there had to be an agreement between the two of you, if it's a person, for you to hold presence in space and to sort of anchor here when they cross over. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave your comments down below. I will try to get to them and answer them. If there's enough of the same question, I'll make a whole video answering that question or any question that you have. So those times we can ask angels to come through and help us. Archangel Azrael helps with grief. Archangel Metatron helps us understand what our place is within this timeline with other people. Gabriel helps us feel nurtured. Raphael helps heal. Michael helps us feel protected, especially, you want to call on Michael if you're having an overactive mind. Especially the what ifs. What if I had done this or what if I had done that? Would my life be different? If you're going through a midlife crisis, you know this very well, right? What if I made other choices? Well, then you would have regretted not making the choices that you already did, right? So there's always something. But Michael can kind of come in and help quiet that noise and help you to gain clarity. Yes? So take that in for a moment. We have more cards here. Actually, I think I'm going to pull maybe an extra one. I have a crystal card that I pulled, and it's Tourmalated Quartz. Get out of your own way. Look at this beautiful crystal, and look at how those inclusions, it's almost like a web, right? We're talking about an overactive mind. Think of all these as thought forms, just bouncing around. Some of them are yours, right? If you are fatalistic, you have disaster thinking, you have a lot of anxiety, right? This is some way, and this is how your energy looks too. It's just kind of zooming all over the place. But this is saying that it's you and your interpretation and your actions towards things that is holding you up and holding you back. I'm going to give an example, and it's an embarrassing one. I wrote my first, I got to air quote, I'm so sorry, book, okay, when I was 13 years old. 13. I remember I had my first feverish writing session that went into the wee hours of the morning. I couldn't even tell you what the story was about. I don't remember. I was so into it. And I remember just thinking, this is it. I was really big into drawing, art, music. Music was a big thing for me when I was a kid too. And writing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I love words. And I even love like the psychology behind words and the impact it can have. But even then I knew, maybe not up here, but in my heart, somewhere, somehow, I knew that words held power. That's why we speak it out and we manifest it. So be careful what you're speaking out there and what you're listening to. But I remember that was a big passion of mine. So get to this point in my life, I have written a few books. Went to graduate school for it. I couldn't get into grad school without having most of a book done. I worked in book publishing. I had connections to a lot of people in the industry. I am not a published author. Not in the traditional sense. I have some stuff on Substack. A couple of chapters of a book. This, if I were to take this reading for myself, I have to shield myself from my own negative self-talk. I got to shield myself from my own fear of, if I put myself out there, what will come back to me? I'm getting in my own way. To this day, I'm kind of old, okay? I'm a little bit old. Not that old, but a little bit old. Too much time, I'm not going to say how much time, but too much time has gone by from the time I was 13 years old to now. And it's very easy to look at other people, especially people who got published in their 20s, and they have these beautiful books out there. What's the difference there? One, it could be their soul's path, but they also probably didn't allow themselves to get so distracted. Now, do I sit here and regret that? Not entirely. Not entirely, because I have spent decades getting a little bit, this little taste of life and this little taste of life. And I've never done that before. Let me dive right into it and be the one that doesn't know anything. Sure, let's do that. Right? And I don't know what the future holds, because I've always said to myself, like, oh, okay, one day I'll get back to that. And maybe I will, or maybe I won't. At this point, I'm just going to get out of my own way, and I'm going to stop overthinking and overanalyzing it. I'm going to stop beating myself up, and I'm just going to let whatever needs to unfold. That is one example. Now, I had not intended to do more cards, but we got some time here. I think we can dive on in. Let's pull some more information out. Okay. All right. Aventurine. I don't know why I said it like that. Aventurine. Create your own luck. Again, we're talking a little bit about manifestation here. And I know that becomes a very popular topic, and it's been talked to death. But aventurine is lightheartedness. It's, again, healing the heart space along with Archangel Raphael and raising your frequency up. And this is also known as a very prosperous stone as well. This was one of the first crystals that I got. If you've watched me for a long time, you know the story from the Chopra Center that used to be on Broadway in New York City, down from Columbus Circle. I went in there. I signed up for like a spa treatment, came through the shop, and I was very much drawn. That was when I had my vision of Ganesh. So my first, I don't know if it was my first vision. It was the most profound vision. And therefore, I remember it as my first. So there is that. There is luck on the horizon here. Iolite, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Shift your money mindset. Okay, so look at the whole thing together. A lot of times we make the choices that we do because there's that energy overlay. There's that mind manipulation. You're not going to be able to take care of yourself. Y'all, in grad school, they scheduled our classes. This is that new school. They scheduled our classes in the evening to get acclimated to the writer's lifestyle. You know what? That's not what I need to hear when I'm paying almost $40,000. I think it was like $38,000. I don't know. Expensive. Okay, what am I doing here? Tens of thousands of dollars a year for what? But we were also being taught by authors who presumably needed to write and meet with their publishers during the day. So, they're just giving the example, going along with that example of the writer lifestyle. Okay, your creativity is not going to be rewarded. That mindset was dropped on us day one. We're going to expect you to prove how much you want this. You had to learn to speed read or you weren't going to get through the grad program. And that was at New School. I technically got accepted to Columbia for grad school. I can't even imagine. I didn't go there because of money. Money mindset, right? I can't imagine what that program would have been like. I mean, my goodness, right? If this one was that demanding. But again, it's all about this this idea that gets laid down, and for me, it became very factual that, I'm not going to make money at this. I'm never going to be able to support myself. So what ended up happening? Going along with this example, I took assistant jobs. Why did I take an assistant job? Because the other ones took too much of a commitment. And I wanted to be able to still have my benefits and have stability, but be able to do my writing. Well, it turns out for years and years and years, the day job just exhausted me so much, I never got back to the writing. So, meanwhile, you're watching people who did commit to a certain career path that's more mainstream, and they are just pulling ahead of you, and you might feel stuck. So why am I telling this exact example? I think it illustrates perfectly, one, the money mindset, the negative thoughts cycling around, and you get convinced that things are impossible. Not realizing that the talent is there, your luck is there, You are absolutely lovable. Maybe you've just been getting around people who I, we could sit here another half hour talking about, you know what, about these relationships? People who can't appreciate you or look at you and say, you're too this, you're too that, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too blah, 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 blah. Those people are insecure. Goodbye. Goodbye. Okay? And going along the love example, how often in movies, television, books, magazines, social media, that there's a certain beauty standard and there's a certain way that love is supposed to be. Social media alone, I've never seen so many toxic relationships in my life. And it's not just enough that the people themselves are there trying to pretend like they've got this great relationship. It's the comments. And how many people are oblivious. This energy read, angelic message is trying to get us to break through that. You're not going to be alone. I just said you're not going to be alone, and this car like really blew their horn outside. It's a very narrow street that I live on, so when someone's blowing the horn, chances are someone didn't move over the way they're supposed to. I've come to know that now. But to break through this mindset that, you know, no one's going to love you or you're never going to get the career that you want. Again, we want to be careful with that because our soul's path and our life's purpose isn't completely defined by who you're with or what your career is or how beautiful you are or whatever. Okay? It's none of that. It's none of that. It's how human can you be while you have the chance to be human. The best stories that are ever told are not necessarily about the person's big win. It's their coming up, coming from wherever they were, all the steps along the way. No, I'm not going to use the word journey, okay? Because it doesn't feel right to say that, okay? No, it's said too much, right? Someone's journey, the hero's story, you know, the hero's journey or whatever. But you see what I'm getting at here. That's what people usually focus on. So that's the part that matters. It's not, and you see this a lot with some people who, maybe they're tucked away in a small town. They got married, they have their kids, they have a job that they like, they live in a pretty house. And then somebody who's from like a big city where there's lots of pressure to be, a millionaire, billionaire, whatever, looking at someone who chose that life and going, I could never. Oh my God, I would be so bored. Well, it's likely that the person that chose I wouldn't say it's quieter with kids, perhaps not, but, that more tucked away, let's say, seemingly quieter lifestyle, they're more in touch with the real meaning of life. Aren't they? Because less distractions, I'm stereotyping here, that like if you chose that life, you don't have distractions. Of course you do. But I'm just saying, compared to like being the corporate, monster that just eats everybody up, different, right? Okay. So, but you are in touch with your children. You are having to focus on nurturing their education. You're going to have a very different perspective on the job that you go to. Because you're going to be willing to put up with more. Hopefully you don't have to, but there could be ways that you're challenged to and kind of forced to let things go because, hey, I've got kids to think about. I have a house and a household. I have to do things differently. It might be that person who chose a quote unquote quieter life has more time to have deeper connections with people. And again, minus all the distractions. When I lived in New York City, it was nothing but noise, chaos, fighting. It would be a fight just to walk down the sidewalk. I was terrified every time I stood on a subway platform. I was terrified every time I went onto the subway. People picking fights. It was common. New Yorkers, comment. Okay, please comment. I know you know. I know you know. All right. So you might say, no, come on, you got to get a tough skin. That's what I used to always hear. And that is just another layer of toxic behavior of just accept the horrible stuff. Don't talk about it. Be negative, right? But New York was constantly, I couldn't even relax in my home. If you go back and watch my really old videos from when was that? 2013, 2014. I moved halfway through 2015. There was always noise outside. There was always a plane in the sky, or there was chatter outside my door. It didn't get much better when I moved to Colorado Springs, but whatever. There was just always something going on. And at night, even though I ended up moving out to Queens, it still wasn't quiet. It still wasn't quiet. It was always chaotic. So I only had friendships that were surface level. I only had love partners that were surface level. And it came down to not who we were as people, but almost I don't know, very strategic. Very strategic. I bring this to the table, you bring that to the table. Together we can do X, Y, and Z. As opposed to someone who just saw someone, fell in love. Let's have our beautiful life together. I hope this is making sense. I know I'm not explaining it, as well as I could. But that is the kind of thing that we're being asked to shift our mindset away from the lies we're being told. The lies of what a good life is, and allowing yourself to follow the path that feels good for you. Let me know in the comments down below, how did this reading affect you? If you're not subscribed and you like this content, subscribe for more. Remember, every time you watch one of these videos, you are connecting with angelic energy, and that will raise your frequency. I am sending you all so much love, and take care.